Ladies and gentlemen, good day everyone, and welcome to Vipshop Holdings Limited second quarter 2022 earnings conference call. At this time, I would like to turn the call to Ms. Jessie Zheng, Vipshop's Head of Investor Relations. Please proceed.
Thank you, operator. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Vipshop second quarter 2022 earnings conference call. With us today are Eric Shen, our co-founder, chairman, and CEO, and David Cui, our CFO. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that a discussion today will contain forward-looking statements made under safe harbor provisions of the U.S. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Forward-looking statements are subject to risks and uncertainties that may cause actual results to differ materially from our current expectations. Potential risks and uncertainties include, but are not limited to, those outlined in our safe harbor statements in our earnings release and public filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission, which also applies to this call to the extent any forward-looking statements may be made. Please note that certain financial measures used on this call, such as non-GAAP operating income, non-GAAP net income, and non-GAAP net income per ADS, are not presented in accordance with US GAAP. Please refer to our earnings release for the reconciliation of our non-GAAP measures to GAAP measures. With that, I would now like to turn the call over to Mr. Eric Shen.
Good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining our second quarter 2022 earnings conference call. Our second quarter results came in better than expected, driven by improving macro conditions. Towards the end of the quarter, with the COVID-19 pandemic effectively under control, supply chain and logistic efficiency largely recovered, and consumer sentiment also picked up gradually. Our top-line performance was helped by a month-on-month recovery in consumption, especially a more resilient trend in June. Even though sales were still under pressure, our bottom line increased and margins improved year-over-year, thanks to greater discipline in operations. This set of results demonstrates the resilience of our business model, as well as the strong execution and flexibility of the entire company to address external uncertainties. Notably, we are doing a good job supporting the core brand that appeal to the value of our consumers. This has translated into strong brand partnerships and improved customer loyalty. During the quarter, core brands continued to outperform in sales momentum. Our buyers team worked more closely than ever to engage with brand partners. We helped them navigate through an uncertain environment with extensive support from customer engagement, category planning to marketing campaigns. Brand partners were pleased to use our merchants platform with new features to manage and grow their business. In turn, we secured more supply of unique and quality products at competitive price. In addition, we have been constantly refreshing our brand mix. We added more new trendy and high-end brands in both apparel and non-apparel categories, targeting different customer groups. Accordingly, we rolled out several new channels such as Little Pink Box, VIP Trend, and VIP Luxury to support the growth of these new brands, while creating a new feel of shopping of our customers. In the second quarter, we successfully turned more high-value customers into paid members. Active Super VIP customer grew by 21% year-over-year and contributed 38% of online net GMV. They once again showed their superior value with stable repeat purchase and order size amid a still cautious sentiment. With the with the future recovery highly dependent on the micro development, we are strategically anchored in discount retail for the long term. We are convinced that consumers always desire for great brands, great selection at great values, especially as they become more rational in spending today. We will continue to enhance our value proposition, adapting our business as needed to best serve brand partners and customers. At this point, let me hand over the call to our CFO, Barry Cui, who will go over our financial results.
Thanks, Eric, and hello, everyone. During the second quarter, we delivered solid profitability on decent top-line performance that beat our prior guidance. Our initiative to focus on core brands has been working well, and our gross margin increased to 20.5% from 20.1% a year ago. This was achieved as we identified many opportunities to streamline the cost structure in both apparel and non-apparel categories, and managed to improve category gross margins effectively. We also made relentless efforts to drive operational efficiency. Notably, we continued to see some leverage from marketing as we became more rational in spending as to acquiring and retaining customers. As a result, our non-GAAP net income increased year-over-year to 1.6 billion RMB, and non-GAAP net margin expanded by 1.5% to 6.5%. Additionally, we remain committed to our $1 billion share buyback program announced in March. We had repurchased $177.1 million of our ADS during the second quarter. Looking ahead, we remain focused on merchandising strategy and looking at ways to operate our business more efficiently. Maintaining healthy and sustainable profitability continues to be our near-term financial priority amid an uncertain environment. Now moving to our detailed quarterly financial highlights. Before I get started, I would like to clarify that all financial numbers presented below are in renminbi, and all the percentage changes are year-over-year changes, unless otherwise noted. Total net revenues for the second quarter of 2022 were 24.5 billion RMB, as compared with 29.6 billion RMB in the prior year period, primarily attributable to soft consumer demand for discretionary categories amid a changing macro environment with the COVID-19 resurgence in China. Gross profit was 5.0 billion RMB as compared with 6.0 billion RMB in the prior year period. Gross margin increased to 20.5% from 20.1% in the prior year period. Total operating expenses decreased by 18.7% year-over-year to 3.9 billion RMB from 4.8 billion RMB in the prior year period. As a percentage of total net revenues, total operating expenses decreased to 16.1% from 16.4% in the prior year period. Fulfillment expenses decreased by 13.7% year-over-year to 1.8 billion RMB from 2.1 billion RMB in the prior year period. As a percentage of total net revenues, fulfillment expenses was 7.2% as compared with 6.9% in the prior year period. Marketing expenses decreased by 60.5% year-over-year to 555.6 million RMB from 1.4 billion RMB in the prior year period, primarily attributable to more prudent marketing strategy. As a percentage of total net revenues, marketing expenses decreased to 2.3% from 4.8% in the prior year period. Technology and content expenses increased by 11.3% year-over-year to 411.8 million RMB from 369.9 million RMB in the prior year period. As a percentage of total net revenues, technology and content expenses increased to 1.7% from 1.2% in the prior year period. General and administrative expenses were 1.2 billion RMB as compared with 1.0 billion RMB in the prior year period. As a percentage of total net revenues, general and administrative expenses was 4.9% as compared with 3.4% in the prior year period. Income from operations was 1.3 billion RMB as compared with 1.5 billion RMB in the prior year period. Operating margin increased to 5.2% from 5.0% in the prior year period. Non-GAAP income from operations was 1.6 billion RMB as compared with 1.7 billion RMB in the prior year period. Non-GAAP operating margin increased to 6.3% from 5.9% in the prior year period. Net income attributable to Vipshop's shareholders increased by 17.4% year-over-year to 1.3 billion RMB from 1.1 billion RMB in the prior year period. Net margin attributable to Vipshop's shareholders increased to 5.2% from 3.7% in the prior year period. Net income attributable to Vipshop's shareholders per diluted ADS increased to 1.97 RMB from 1.56 RMB in the prior year period. Non-GAAP net income attributable to Vipshop's shareholders increased by 8.4% year-over-year to 1.6 billion RMB from 1.5 billion RMB in the prior year period. Non-GAAP net margin attributable to Vipshop's shareholders increased to 6.5% from 5.0% in the prior year period. Non-GAAP net income attributable to Vipshop's shareholders per diluted ADS increased to 2.45 RMB from 2.10 RMB in the prior year period. Looking forward to the third quarter of 2022, we expect our total net revenues to be between 21.2 billion RMB and 22.4 billion RMB, representing a year-over-year decrease rate of approximately 15% to 10%. Please note that this forecast reflects our current and preliminary view of the market and operational conditions, which is subject to change. With that, I would now like to open the call to Q&A.
Thank you, management. As a reminder, to ask a question, you will need to press star 11 on your telephone. Please stand by while we compile the Q&A roster. Our first question comes from the line of Thomas Chong of Jefferies. Please go ahead.
晚上好，谢谢管理层接受我的提问。恭喜我们的收入跟盈利都是比市场的预期都做得好。 我想问一下呢，就是我们现在看到7月份跟8月份呢，我们的收入的情况的改善幅度可以分享一下吗？另外的话呢，在一个宏观不明朗的情况下呢，应该怎么想下半年的一个展望？我第二个问题呢是想问关于在这个竞争环境那边，我们怎么看呢？直播带货呢对我们的影响？Thanks management for taking my questions and congratulations on a very solid set of results with top and bottom line beating market expectations. When we come into the second half, given the global macro headwinds that we are facing right now, how should we think about the second half outlook as well as the recovery momentum in July and August? And my second question is relating to competition. How should we think about the competitive threat from live streaming, online shopping from the short form video side? Thank you.
好，我来回答一下。第一个就是就是说大家也知道，在3、4、5的时候是疫情严重，那么我们说的导致整个电商的生意都不好。但其实在6月份呢，基本有复苏。那么7月份我们看到它的复苏会比6月份还要好一些啊。那么8月份也差不多。那么总体而言呢，我们看到整个宏观的环境啊。那么虽然说不能跟去年比，但是总体而言呢，我们也看慢慢在好转。那么但是呢，就是说在电商而言呢，就是我们要看那个天气，就是看比如说我们讲的今年，尤其在 Q4 时间，我们要看是不是天气冷得比较快，或者说比较冷。所以说这个呢，其实天气的情况跟我们电商还是蛮有关系的。但是总体我们看到整个经济在复苏，那么可能但是比去年的整个购买力消费意愿还是会有折扣的。那么第二个是问直播直播呢，其实我们看到直播那么做的也不错，但是呢总体而言呢，对我们的影响不会太大因为直播也已经搞了大概2年多，都比较旺的2年多了嘛。那么直播我们看到可能在标品方面，那么他做的比在穿戴方面做的好很多。那么我们呢反过来，我们其实是在穿戴方面比较强，那么标品方面呢，我们相对而言不强。所以说总体而言呢，我们看我们也一路上在监测，每个月也看数据，那么发现其实我们讲目前的直播的生意量各方面其实也基本相对稳定嘛，所以说我们看也没有给我们造成很大的威胁。
Okay. So turning to our first question, understandably, we have seen from March to May, the whole e-commerce sector has been very hard hit by the COVID-19. But we have seen the year-over-year trend having been improving into June and also July and August. We have a better June promotion than expected, and sales in July continue to show some slight month-on-month recovery, and in August that momentum continued. But on the other hand, there is some still uncertainty regarding the recovery momentum. It's highly dependent on the macro developments, especially as well as the weather conditions. Actually, the e-commerce industry is very, especially as we are apparel focused, we are very sensitive to the weather conditions, and that may unfavorable weather may delay the demand for autumn and winter clothing, and also with the new COVID flare-ups, consumers are still cautious about spending, and the whole macro backdrop is not comparable to what we had seen for last year. So there is still some uncertainty ahead. Turning to your second question on live streaming competition from live streaming. There is no big change in the competitive landscape, and we think competition is actually leveling off. Live streaming has been there for over 2 years, and they are doing fine, especially in standardized items, which they're performing much better than apparel categories. But we are more specialized in apparel categories, which is still a very sophisticated segment and difficult for live streaming platforms to absorb all the market share. We have been monitoring data of the live streaming platforms, and we think their traffic and business momentum has been relatively stable.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We'll now take the next question from Ashley Xu of Credit Suisse. Please proceed with your question.
谢谢管理层接受我的提问。首先恭喜还不错的业绩，然后我这边有2个问题，想先问一下我们 SVIP 这边的策略，然后我们这个增长的主要动力是什么？因为看到我们这个季度虽然有疫情，但是 SVIP 这边执行的还不错。然后我的第2个问题是关于就是最近天气特别热嘛，我们应该怎么考虑这个对我们对唯品会这边的影响？就是从用户的行为角度，还有我们的拿产品的策略上会有什么样的影响？然后我自己很快翻译一下。Thanks management for taking my question. My first question is about our SVIP strategy. Have seen that the growth has been quite good even during the COVID emergence. So just want to check what's the key driver of the growth. And my second question is related to the recent hot weather's impact on our strategy, both in consumer behavior and also merchandising. Thank you.
第一个问题是问那个 SVIP 啊，
增长策略。
对对对 ，SVIP 呢，其实我们公司还是蛮关注的。目前的我们的生意占我们大概38%左右，那么我们相信以后还会更高啊。那么我们其实是希望用那种顾客忠诚计划，那么我们希望绑定这些用户，尽量的多在唯品会买。那么我们会给他一些便利，政策的便利，那个体验的便利，包括那个购物的优惠啊，或者一些专属的那个销售。所以说呢，我们想用各种方法来吸引他们成为我们的最忠实的顾客，而且呢，或者说在各个平台的选择中啊，他们可能优先选择我们。所以说我们会不遗余力的发展这个 SVIP。那么我们包括我们相信以后可能会根据用各种各样的开通，或者说把我们很多的高价值用户再把它转成 VIP， 用各种方法，那不断提升我们的 SVIP 的占比。那么另外呢，我们也提升 SVIP 的 UP， 那么另外呢，也提升我们整个 SVIP 在唯品会的整盘生意的占比。那么第2点是问，就是那个现在天气热怎么看？
对用户行为和我们的拿货策略方面有什么？
对，那个我们货品呢，因为我们也做好准备，因为马上在9月份呢开始进入秋天，所以说我们其实也准备了大量的货。那么我们也有做好，比如说在8月份，那么可能在8月底可能会有一波，比如说假设要天气冷要上秋装。那么我们有这种叫秋上新活动，那么因为我们接的是供应商的海量库存嘛，所以说我们其实倒不担心说我今天如果万一反应不快或者天气骤变，那么我们其实跟不上，所以说我们也做好准备。那么包括我们也会跟合作伙伴一起去研究，那么包括比如说今天冬天的羽绒服到底要怎么备货，什么品牌备什么样的价格段。那么其实或者说多少的量啊，那么包括它的那种轻款啊、薄款啊、厚款啊等等，其实我们其实也一起会跟一些品牌参与到那个整体的这些那个方案中去。所以说我们其实电商是最希望就是说今年的天气要冷，那么对电商来讲是个很好的事情。
Okay, On the first question related to SVIP, we have been focusing on growing our SVIP customers for several quarters. They now contributed around 38% of our online net GMV, and we expect this contribution to be higher in the coming quarters. We have a number of SVIP membership privileges to offer to them to incentivize them to our high-value customers into SVIPs. For example, we have extra 5% benefits. We have Super VIP sales day on the 28th of every month, and also Super VIP membership stores. Now we increasingly focus on creating a different shopping experiences for them, offering them best sellers, brands and categories on a time-limited basis, so that they can really feel they are constantly seeking out values on our platform. So we also have a variety of cross-platform programs to incentivize more high-value customers into SVIPs. So we are pretty confident that SVIPs, in terms of their customer base and ARPU as well as GMV contribution, will be growing going forward. On the second question related to our merchandising strategy, in response to the recent extremely hot weather conditions, actually we have plenty of supply from our brand partners for autumn and winter clothing. For example, by the end of August, we're going to launch our campaigns for autumn apparel. If the weather conditions is favorable enough, we don't have a problem with the availability of the product supply from our brand partners, because we have been highly engaged with them as to how we should prepare for the coming seasons. For example, we have been working with down jacket brands for the winter clothing to stock as many SKUs as possible, just in case the weather gets colder before we expect. So that's how we work with our brand partners. We don't have a problem for the inventory supply from the best of our brand partners.
Thank you for the questions. Next questions will come from the line of Alicia Yap from Citi. Please go ahead.
Thank you. 管理层晚上好，谢谢接受我的提问，也恭喜强劲的业绩。有2个问题，第一个就是想跟进一下我们3季度的这个指引啊，就是因为二季度我们的业绩就比想象中好蛮多，然后管理层也说7月份、8月份都会比6月份好，就想说我们这个给出的这个指引就是掉10到15% 的话，会不会是有一点保守呢？然后另外第2个问题就是这个利润率因为这个季度其实提升不少就是想问一下，就是说在这个基础上还有改善的空间吗？还是说这个2季度的这个利润率是未来几个季度我们可以考虑的？就我自己翻译一下。Thanks for taking my questions. Congrats on the strong results. I have 2 questions. The first one is, it seems like your 3Q guidance is a bit conservative, considering what you have beat for your second quarter, and also seems like you also been seeing improving trend in July and August. And then second question is on margin. This quarter margin actually improved quite a lot. Are there any further room to improve, or the 2Q level will actually set as the new base for the future quarters? Thank you.
我回答第一个问题，就是说我们对 Q3 的预期 那个是-10%到-15%嘛，那么我们其实也考虑到，因为以后的就是说确实有反复性啊，比如说疫情的反复性，那么包括消费者的信心其实没回升，那么另外呢，尤其是在9月份到底冷不冷，所以说我们其实对这些其实没有足够的把握啊，所以说我们觉得还是相对保守点好一些啊。那么但是我们自己也会努力去做。那么第二点问题我开个头，就是后面让 David 再跟大家讲一讲，就是因为 Q2 呢我们有缩减了，因为是疫情期嘛，我们缩减了一些市场费用，那么对我们来讲呢，大家看到利润也不错，那么我们其实在整体在公司的利润把握上，我们其实还是已经积累了足够的经验，那么所以说呢，我们其实在未来的时间我们还会去继续去拓展用户啊，但是呢我们会健康的去拓展用户，我们希望是未来我们又能获取把用户的增长重新把它翻正，那么我们又能有足够的利润来交出这个作业。
Yeah.
Okay. Our Q3 guidance of negative 10 to 15% actually takes into account a number of factors. For example, we expect there will be some back and forth in COVID-19 cases, and also it takes time for consumer confidence to gradually recover. And lastly, we are not quite sure about the weather conditions in July, whether it's going to be cold enough for us to launch the autumn marketing campaign for autumn clothing. So we'd better be a little bit conservative, but we will try our best to to achieve the top line performance. On the margins, I'll start I'll start with a few points, and David will add some details later. We did scale back some of our marketing expenses in the second quarter, and that turned into a very good profitability. But for the long term, for the coming quarters, our goal is still trying to bring customers back to a positive growth trajectory. We'll spend as needed, and we'll take opportunities whenever we can to acquire customers, but we'll continue to be quite rational. At the same time, we are confident that we can maintain healthy and sustainable profitability because we have been very good at managing our costs and expenses. We have a proven track record to provide the financial stability. David?
Yeah. In the first half of this year, we have been focusing on the improvement of our operational efficiencies, and we have been very disciplined in our spending. And our goal for the second half is still to maintain a quality business scale, and while improving the operational efficiencies, and we have to balance our profitability and the growth. We will potentially looking into opportunities to acquire new customers. That means that we could increase our marketing expenditures, but we have to be really disciplined in that initiative. So having said all this, we are confident that our profitability, our net margin will at least remain stable for the second half.
Thank you for the question. Our next question comes from the line of Tian Hou of TH Capital. Please go ahead.
管理层早上好，沈总，有个问题要给沈总。我看现在呢，这个外贸不是很好。那么在美国这边，一些零售的订单已经都很高了，比如说沃尔玛呀、Target 呀，都说了这个问题。那么再看中国的出口订单也在下滑。往年呢，以往的经验呢，是说如果外贸很弱的时候，国内库存积压的时候，这个很好的一件事情。那么沈总这方面能不能给大家一些对您的看法？就是在 second half 这个中国的经济有一些问题，外贸出口不景气，库存这个 build up 的时候，那我们的机会在哪里？怎么样去把握这些机会？这个中国的经济有一些问题，外贸出口不景气，库存这个 build up 的时候，那我们的机会在哪里？怎么样去把握这些机会？我自己翻译一下吧。So it's related to the inventory build up overseas, and also in China we saw the orders also decline. So it seems like the inventory among manufacturers are going to build up. In the past, the VIP is really good at it to help those manufacturing to get rid of inventory. It's a good opportunity for us. So I would like to have Mr. Shen to give us some color in the second half how Vipshop is going to capture such opportunity like what you did before.
OK， 那个我谈一下我的观点啊，因为我们主力是合作，像比如说国内的品牌，那么包括国际的一些品牌，那么国际的品牌有进口，有一些呢就是说他们直接已经在工厂生产了。那么据我们看到的情况，其实这个呢就是目前看到的情况跟出口整体的环境影响不大的，因为他们可能是两套体系，那么有些等于是专门做国内市场，所以说其实跟出口的没关系。只是工厂它有可能是同一个工厂。那么我们自己看到，其实中国目前的整个库存的积压还是蛮厉害的啊。那么有两个观点，一个呢就是说因为在疫情期间，就是说尤其在3、4、5月的时候，疫情期间很多店关门，那么我们说的那个大家呢就是说整个库存积压很大。那么另外呢有一种说法呢，就是有一些品牌呢其实他们在疫情期间啊，就是 lockdown 以后啊，他有的就不做货不下单，但是呢他们现在又要开始行动，因为他知道要追下半年乃至明年。那么所以说整体据我们的观察，其实我们手里目前能供给我们的货的库存量其实还是大大存在的啊。那么甚至都超过去年的水平，所以说我们其实不担心啊。那么再加上呢，我们其实不管是库存是怎么情况，因为我们跟很多品牌是有专门的叫专供定制，那这些呢是我们讲的是长期有保证的。那么所以说其实我们讲的就是今年下半年的货品的供给我们是足够的。那么另外我们整体就回答你刚刚那个问题，其实市场上的库存确实蛮多，还不是说我们一家能消化掉的。
Okay, let me share a few of my observations here. So first, we work with a lot of primary domestic brands and also some of the international brands, but that's not quite relevant to the export environment because they rely on imports, and we've seen some productions kicked off, in the recent months. And second, on the inventory, there are a few things about inventory today. First is because of the COVID-19, there are a lot of many offline stores are struggling. Inventory is definitely building up. And second, since there have been a lot of lockdowns in the past months, some of the brands may have scaled back some of their productions, but since things are getting better now, so they are starting to pick up momentum in terms of placing orders. Generally speaking, I think we potentially should benefit from a favorable inventory cycle because we do see excess inventories nowadays, and the amount of which has actually exceeded the level we have seen for last year. And in addition to securing the supply, the unique and quality supply from our brand partners, remember we also have the made for Vipshop line, which is quite stable, and it's a long-term channel for us. So we think we don't have a problem with the inventory, and we have the ability to secure the best supply from our brand partners.
Thank you for the questions. Our next question comes from Eddie Wang of Morgan Stanley. Please proceed.
沈总、David 总、Jessie， 感谢接受我的提问。我也是2个问题吧。第一个就是说，沈总前面分享的就是说这个7、8月份和6月份的趋势是跟国家统计局说的这个线上服饰销售的这个趋势也是比较相同的。但是呢，就是说我们看到国家统计数在6月份、7月份其实是一个就是正的增长，就线上服饰，但我们可能还是会有一个下降嘛。这个主要是因为就是说是基数的原因嘛，就是对我们公司来说。那这个问题就是说，我们预期什么时候能看到，就是说我们的收入能够这个重新回到一个正向增长的这样一个这个趋势。第二个可能就紧跟的一个小问题，就是说这个是跟我们计划就是说用户重新这个正增长是密切相关的嘛。因为看到好像这个如果是按 GMV per customer 或者是 sales per customer， 其实都已经是在一个正的增长了。那接下去如果这部分没有一个很大的一个就是jump 的话，那基本上就是要看用户什么时候能够重新回到新增，然后就是正增长，然后才能 drive 整个我们的收入往上涨嘛。对，我就这2个问题，然后我自己先翻译一下了。Thank you for taking my question. My first question is related to the revenue growth. When should we expect that our revenue growth will, turn to a positive territory again in the following quarters? And second is the second question is that it will be mainly driven by the user growth, for the revenue growth, turning into the positive territory. Thank you.
我回答一下，就是刚刚问的就是应该就是说 Q3 的预估嘛，对吧？一方面呢是说零售就是说整体的零售是有复苏，但我们担心是哪一点呢？就是说因为疫情的原因，导致我们在今年 Q2 的用户锐减嘛。那么比如说我们去年的 Q2 是100个人买东西，那么今年的 Q2 我们其实只有83个人买东西。那么其实用户在滚动买的嘛，等于他的就是说83个人买，他加上他的季度复购，那留到今年的 Q3 就会少。所以说其实我们讲的，其实我们有担心就是用户的数的因为疫情的原因导致 Q2 会有一个坑，所以我们要抓紧把这个坑要迈过去。所以说是这方面的考虑，加上我前面讲的3方面的，有疫情，有天气，还有经济消费低迷的这3个因素，所以说我们做保守打算啊。那么另外呢，我们其实目标是争取要在 Q3 尽快实现用户回正，因为我们这个坑 Q2 的坑有点大，那么我们争取在 Q3 回正。那么另外呢，我们整体而言，我们这些用户的 UP 各方面其实都在一个良性的，包括我们的 SVIP 等等都是良性。所以说我们其实在 Q3 努力把用户回正，我们后面这个整体的这些整体的用户在滚动包括 Q4 其实这些就比较顺畅。
So on the question of whether it's our GMV or revenue growth would be driven by customer growth in the coming quarters, yes, I think our goal is try to bring our customers to positive growth starting from the quarter. because in the second quarter we've seen a drastic decline in the customers, and we've seen fewer customers shopping our platform because of the COVID impact, mostly related to the factor that people cannot move around as freely as before. For example, last year there were 100 people shopping on our platform, but in the second quarter this year it was 83 people, and because it's on a rolling basis, so entering into the third quarter we may face additional pressure on customer base. That's why we will spend as needed to bring our customers to positive growth starting from this quarter.
Thank you for the questions. We'll now take the next questions from Wei Xiong of UBS. Please proceed.
管理层晚上好，谢谢接受我的提问，也恭喜这个季度强劲的业绩。那我也有2个这个 follow up 的问题，因为刚刚咱们就谈到说希望3季度能尽快的实现用户的回正，那就想请教一下，那相应的咱们在用户获取的策略，包括营销费用上的安排会具体怎么进行？那第2个也想请教一下，因为咱们也谈到3季度的预期其实是基于现在宏观的不确定性，希望更保守一些。那么到了4季度，有这个年终大促，同时又有去年的这个低基数，那咱们是不是在4季度更有机会看到比较强劲的业绩反弹？那我这2个问题我也自己翻译一下。Thank you management for taking my questions, and I have 2 follow-up questions. First is we just talked about we want to see the user growth returning to positive territory starting from the third quarter. Just want to ask what's the marketing strategy, user acquisition strategy and marketing expense planned around this goal. And my second question is, given that our third quarter guidance has more conservatism built in based on the macro uncertainty, do we see a bigger chance to see a very strong result rebound in the fourth quarter given the year-end promotion as well as the low base last year? Thank you.
好，我来回答这2个问题。第一个就是关于用户的，就是说我 Q3 如何把用户争取回正。那么比如说我们现在也在外面大幅的获新客，因为新客呢我们在 Q2 的时候停了一段时间，或者说有些疫情的地方我们就不获了，那么现在又在大幅的获。另外呢就是像我们的流失的老客我们要把它唤醒啊，那么这是比如说像去年的，那么今年 Q1 的，那么还有呢就是像我们刚刚讲的那个100个人到83个人，这17个人他是因为疫情原因没来，那么我们也要把它获回来。所以说我们其实用好几种方法，那么那个新客就是我们继续用原来的什么预装啊，那个应用市场啊，包括精准投放。那么对老客的话，我们其实还是用精准召回，我们召回他，给他送 coupon 啊等等啊，那么在外面精准找到他，给他送 coupon 啊等等，希望他再回来买。他只要回来买了以后，我们就可能不断的再激活他。那么所以说这是我们目前 Q3 的方法。那么第2个问题就是问，就是说第2个问题就是说，就如果 Q3 我们的用户增长能回正，那么我们其实对第4季度是很有信心的，因为用户已经回来了。那么我们而且呢 Q4 季度又是我们最旺的时间，那么包括我们其实现在的整体的那个货品结构啊，价格优势啊，包括我们的特卖价值啊，其实等于比原来其实做的都越来越好。所以说我们相信如果用户回来了，我们其实 Q4 乃至明年我们其实都不用太担心。
Okay. In terms of our customer acquisition strategy, we are trying to increase spending in acquiring new customers from the third quarter, because in the past several quarters, because of COVID restrictions, we have more or less stopped new customer acquisition in certain geographies. Now we are trying to restart our investing in this regions. Our strategy continues to be pre-installation, app store and the targeted marketing for new customers. At the same time, we're trying to pull back the old customers who used to shop with us in the past year or in the first quarter. We're trying to reactivate this group of old customers by leveraging targeted marketing. And we're trying to bring back the 17% of the customers who were unable to shop with us because of the various COVID restrictions. Second, in terms of our we are actually, in terms of the Q4 outlook, we are actually quite confident if, under the condition that if we can turn our customer into the growth trajectory in the third quarter, because as long as we bring new customers in, we are going to see some upside in the fourth quarter performance, because that's going to be the peak season for us. And in the past several quarters, we have been able to take the economic downturns as opportunities to optimize our merchandising portfolio and increase the customer mind share for discount retail among our customers. So we are pretty confident we'll see some upside in the fourth quarter if everything goes on well.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Sorry, please continue.
Oh yeah, I just add something here. So when we implementing all these marketing initiatives in the third quarter and the quarter after, we will not sacrifice our profitability. We will be really careful when we launch all this program. We will try to do a much better job as compared to what we did in the past, and to ensure the ROI on all these programs is good.
Thank you. We have our next question from the line of Andre Chang from JP Morgan. Please ask your question.
沈总、崔总、Jessie， 谢谢接受我的提问。那我这边有2个问题，第一个是关于这个季节性对于咱们品类结构还有这个毛利率的影响。那因为过往的话，咱们2季度因为大促嘛，所以服饰比重都特别高，服饰又是高毛利，所以会拉动2季度的毛利相对1、3季度会高嘛。那我不知道说今年因为疫情跟消费环境影响，这个2季度的服饰比重是不是相对没那么高？那倒回来想的话，是不是就是说，那咱们进入3季度，其实这个毛利率季节性的这个下滑，可能也不会如往年来的一样多。这是第一个问题。第二个问题的话，是我注意到咱们这个 Capex 其实还是下得挺猛的，就虽然在这个营销费用减少很多，但 Capex 还是年对年加了1倍。那我不知道说这是不是纯粹是因为这个杉杉奥莱这边还在扩，那在这个环境之下的话，公司接下来的想法是延续这样子的这个资本支出策略吗？还是会有些相应这个环境的调整？ So let me translate my 2 questions. The first question is about the seasonality impact on the gross margin and the product mix. So historically, the second quarter is the peak season for apparel sales, which lead to higher gross margin. But this year, is there any change of the mix, and also does that mean the gross margin seasonal decline into third quarter will be milder than usual? Second question is about the Capex, which seems to be doubling in second quarter. What's the driver, and are we still going to invest at this pace in the current macro environment? Thanks.
对，那么那个就刚刚问的就 Q2 的那个毛利跟 Q3 的毛利相比嘛，那么 Q2 的是因为是有促销，会有比较大的促销，我们说大家可能觉得那个Q2 的毛利会低一些，但是服装卖的多呢，可能又把它拉平。那么 Q3 呢可能考虑没促销，那么或者说 Q3 可能衣服会少一些啊，等等啊。那我现在是这么看，我们其实今年整个公司做了一些蛮大的调整，尤其在前端掌控毛利方面，我们是有一些心得。 那么包括就是尤其是杜绝了原来说做活动啊、做促销啊、自己贴钱贴券，那么我们其实现在自己很少用公司的钱、公司的券来补贴做促销，所以说这样的话呢，我们整体毛利就相对健康。那么这是第一点。第二点呢，就是说我们其实也发现了在市场投放中有一些不经济的啊。那虽然说我们其实是对靠谱的市场投放，我们是积极去投放，那么去获客，但是有些不经济的我们会杜绝。那么第三点呢，其实我们今年在整个公司的整个流程链路治理上面，包括节约方面，就是说包括我们说的，比如说今天顾客的退货，我们如何更好更快的把它那个处理掉，那么等等啊，或者说自己不受这种损失，因为我们的退货会有很多什么残次啊等等，我们其实在这些链条上面我们也做了很大改进，也收到很多成效，所以说总体我们在这些比如说我们说的要在毛利方面啊，我们等于是今年我们自己有那个比较好的把握，所以说不管未来说是今天是促销季，或者说衣服卖的多卖的少，其实我们认为对我们未来的毛利的稳定性影响不大。
Okay, on the gross margin, we think seasonality actually does not impact our gross margin that much. In the second quarter, gross margin tends to be lower because of the promotions and because apparel sales, apparel demand was relatively weak, and in the third quarter there are not so many promotions in the we may sell less apparel. I just want to try to share that we actually have taken many cost savings initiatives this year to try to stabilize and improve our gross margin. For example, we have stopped delivering coupons at the cost of our own benefits. We are trying to be prudent in giving additional coupons to customers. We're trying to engage brand partners to do that at some time. Second, we have stopped investing in those channels which proves not to be that economical. So that is part of our cost saving initiatives as well. And lastly, we have done taken a lot of measures to try to optimize the cost structure, the process dealing related to gross margin. For example, we're trying to handle customer returns in a better way without sacrificing our benefits. So these initiatives all prove to be very effective, and we are quite confident that we will maintain a relatively stable gross margin going forward.
The CapEx the capital expenditure in the quarter is largely for Shenzhen outlets. So we will add 3 new outlets in this year. A lot of the times that the payments for the land use rights are upfront, and the cash outflow is not necessarily in line with the opening of the outlets. But if we look the CapEx for Shenzhen outlets year over year, the amount should be quite comparable. This particular quarter maybe appears a lot more, but over the year it should be quite comparable.
Thank you for the questions. Our next question comes from Natalie Wu of Haitong International. Please go ahead.
好，谢谢管理层接受我的提问。那我2个小问题啊，第一个的话是关于咱们刚刚说的用户增长翻正，想确认一下这个说的是同比的活跃购买用户数量吗？然后如果是的话，那就是3季度我算了一下，咱们是需要增加 2.2 个 million， 就220万的一个活跃购买用户。如果按照就是之前的一个用户获取成本的话，100-200块一个用户，如果没有提高的话，那这个对应的是这个 2个到4个亿的一个增长的一个营销预算，就不知道这个东西怎么跟咱们说的这个3季度这个利润率还能够保持一个就比较好的一个水平，这个推进起来，这个是第一个。然后第二个的话，想了解一下，这个就是刚刚提到的疫情的时候的一个行业库存的提高的情况下的一个问题啊，就是就想请教一下，这个时候咱们拿货的价格是不是会有可能会拿到更好的一个价格的一个货啊，议价权是不是提升就会比较显著我觉得这2个小问题。Let me translate myself briefly. So thank you for taking my question, and I have 2. The first one is regarding the previously mentioned the user growth turning positive. I just want to clarify if this refers to the year-on-year growth of the active customer number in the third quarter, and if yes, that actually translates to 2.2 million active users. If the cost of the user addition is kept constant, which also translates to 200 to 400 million RMB in terms of the additional sales marketing expenses. Just wondering how does that align with the a stable margin profile as we just mentioned previously. And second one is regarding the bargaining power. So just wondering during the current situation, given that the suppliers affected from COVID has been witnessing an intensified issue for inventory stock, just curious, does that help enhance your bargaining power and get a more favorable offer? Thank you.
这个刚刚问的第一个问题就是说，如果我们要200多万的用户，不是这么算的，比如说100-200块钱一个新客，因为我们对新客成本可能会高一些，但是我们对把老客唤醒，包括把比如说前面的那个 Q 的用户把它唤醒，其实那个成本很低的，可能在几十块钱。那么另外呢，有的还不是用钱的，比如说我们现在讲，假设纯新客用钱，把老客用钱，但是呢，很多其实是靠着我们说的那个更多的，比如说我们讲更多的好的商品，那么更多好的价格，那么包括更好的个性化，来促使用户在 Q3 转换。那么这样的话呢，是几条腿并行才可以达到。所以说不用担心说我们 Q3 我们为了把那个翻正为了把用户数翻正，结果我们要花了很多钱在那个用户获取方面，因为我们想我们的目标就是 Q3 要把用户翻正，那么另外呢，我们可以保证就是 Q3 的市场费用肯定就不会高于去年的 Q2、Q3， 所以这点呢其实费率对，那么所以说这些放心，因为我们刚刚也说了，我们其实也发现我们原来的市场投放会有一些不经济的地方，所以说我们其实把这些砍完以后，我们剩下那么放心去获客那么第二点呢，就是关于那个现在库存多了，但是呢，我们其实不会那个说跟那个供应商，因为我们说实话，我们买断的不多嘛。那么如果买断的话，我们会狠狠的砍价，但是呢，很多都是寄售模式的。那么我们其实不会跟品牌那个去，比如说那个我们讲原来我们的扣点假设是25我说这样你现在那个库存多了，我收你28的扣点，不会的，因为我们觉得跟品牌是长期合作，我们也不会说压榨他们。那么另外呢，我们其实今年还会给一些重点品牌，我们会让利，就是说如果他们能生意做更大，那么提供更多的货品过来，那么大家配合的更好，生意在原来的基础上涨多少，我们还会额外给他们降扣，就是说或者给他们送礼，所以说理论上应该是倒回来的情况。那么因为我们认为说我们其实聚焦重点品牌，那么给我们用重点品牌给我们的用户带来价值，那这样的话呢，我们才叫特卖嘛。 所以说我们其实第二点是跟大家想象是不一样的。
Okay, first on the customer acquisition cost, it's not a simple math. It doesn't mean that adding 2 million customers, we will have to spend 200 to 400 million RMB every quarter. We may have to spend a little bit more on acquiring new customers, but reactivating old customers, especially the active customers in the past quarter, is not that expensive. It's much lower than 100 RMB per customer. So we don't have to spend that much. We can ensure you that our marketing spend as a percentage of total revenue is not going to be higher than what we have seen for the same period of last year. And we are going to leverage a combination of great brands, great selections, and great prices, and as well as better personalized recommendation to achieve our goal of positive customer growth. Second, on the inventory, we have plenty of inventory, as I've mentioned just now. We work very closely with our brand partners on securing the best supply of unique and quality products, and most of them are still on the consignment model. If we are buying out supplies, we probably have to we probably have a much higher bargaining power, but because it's on consignment model and we don't have to increase the percentage we take from brands. It's still within the normal range, and actually we want to give certain support for the core brands, and we can afford to decrease the take rate a little bit to make sure that they can grow faster on our platform with a stronger supply of unique and quality product offerings, because core brands can really help deliver value to our customers and increase consumer mindshare for Vipshop as a discount platform. So that's how we work with our brand suppliers. We can support them and create a win-win situation for both parties.
Thank you very much. Sorry, please continue.
Yes, just to add clarity to your first question regarding the customer acquisition. A large portion of the customer addition should come from the calling back of the existing registered, I would call inactive registered customers. The cost for calling back those people is relatively small. Yeah.
Thank you, management. Due to the time constraint, that concludes today's question and answer session. At this time, I'll turn the conference back to Ms. Jessie Cheng for our closing remark.
Thank you for taking the time to join us today. If you have any questions or follow-up, please don't hesitate to contact us. We look forward to speaking with you next quarter.